So, how do I go from studying a poem by itself, which is complicated enough, to comparing two poems that seem so totally different? Just looking at the lines, um, this one, really short lines, uh, mostly two syllable words, short lines. This one, the Ginsberg poem, really long lines, without so much kind of controlled single and double syllable words. So different. Okay, that's what I noticed first. Okay, if I've read some, I might say, hey, this is kind of like Walt Whitman's long line poems. And this is kind of like the Chinese classical poets who Snyder, you know, translated when he went to UC Berkeley. But hey, you don't need that, okay? That doesn't lead to meaning for me, okay? So, how do I get to the meaning difference? It's about the speaker in the poem here. I sit in the open window and roll a smoke. He's not going to work. And these guys at the bottom, I guess they were mostly guys, this was written in the 1950s, um, are driving to work on a 6 lane highway. Thousands of cars driving men to work. The cars are driving the men to work. That is what's making that soft, continuous roar. And that's what most people are doing. They're the normal ones. He is the abnormal one sitting in an open window. Okay. He there is observing this, he hears it, but he's by himself, he's separate. He doesn't comment on what it's like to be separate, he just is observing the separateness. Now, over here, he is, you might say, talking to Walt Whitman, but he's self conscious, he says, with a headache, self conscious, looking at the full moon, but he's clearly talking to a person who's not there. What thoughts of I have of you tonight, Walt Whitman? And he keeps addressing this person who's not there. So even though he's talking constantly to Walt Whitman, that would be Walt Whitman is like the audience in the poem. He's the speaker. The I is the speaker of the poem. Um, he's not with other people. So he's not close to other people. He does go into the supermarket. He goes in. There's lots of other people there. Aisles full of husbands, wives in the avocados, babies in the tomatoes. Another poet, a Spanish poet, Federico Garcia Lorca, is over by the watermelons. Another mythical poet who doesn't exist there. And so he's, you know, clearly fantasizing about following Walt Whitman around the supermarket and talking to Walt Whitman and eating food with Walt Whitman and listening to Walt Whitman talk to people working at the grocery store. So there he is, among other people, among the normal people, the people who go to work, and at night they go shopping with their families. They're married, they're heterosexual, they're normal. He doesn't really say any of this, but it's there in the scene. And he's lonely. Walt Whitman is lonely. Um, and the speaker in the poem, he is lonely also. We'll both be lonely. He's lonely with someone else, but he's not part of the group. Okay? That is so important to the meaning of the poem. It's all over the place. that he's among other people, but he's separate from these other people. And the only person he's really close to is this person who's not really there. Okay? And over here with Gary Snyder, there's someone observing the sound of the people going to work. He's in a separate place. He's listening. But they are far away, and he is far away from them, and he's not among them. That's what the poems seem to have in common.